In addition to the Director Series, I'm going to be profiling interesting companies that work across all platforms. In this next interview, I'm meeting with ThomasBenski, who's one of the founding partners of Pulse Films.
It's not an industry that you join for an easy ride. Like no. It's one that you join because you're curious, and I think that curiosity is a big part of the evolution of our industry. So.
Yeah. Do you think that opening up in London was the right thing to do because of just culturally, it was perhaps easier to build this new type of company in a place like London than somewhere like LA or New York?
Yeah, or even Europe. Like, I'm not English, as I'm sure you can tell. I think London is such an interesting place because it kind of celebrates new talent, innovation, and so on. So I think if you come to the market with something to say and the ability to do great work, you're more likely to be embraced in London than you are going to be in Europe, or in fact in the US. And the market is smaller as well, so that means that you can build personal relationships quicker and so on. So the timing and the location was a huge factor of our success, I guess. So,
yeah, but now you've just opened in LA and New York, and you've had a busy year, so things are sort of looking pretty good for you.
Yeah, no, I think again it's good timing because I think we bring to the market, I think, something fresh and unique, I hope. And I think music was a little bit underserved from content point of view because you had music videos and then you have live music and then not much beyond that. So we try to kind of bring innovation to music as well through interactive and films and things like that. So a lot of people, I think, a few years ago, and I think that argument's dying down, but this idea of production companies replacing agencies, I don't believe in any of that. I think production companies working directly with brands works for specific types of content, not for everything. Like for certain projects, it might make sense for a client to not work with an agency because it might be cost prohibitive or from a process point of view, maybe not quite right. So I believe more in the partnership of those things rather than one trying to eat at each other's meal. Like I don't believe that that's going to do anyone any favors. So
your branded entertainment and your feature division, your digital division, do they all work separately, or do you have people who really cross over in all different areas?
I think the one thing we've done, which I think is the biggest thing I'm proud of, is to build a culture of collaboration. So there is so much crossover. So someone might be working with a feature director, but then there is a brief that is a, let's say, piece of branded content for an agency of a brand that actually that director that is not necessarily a commercials director could fit, and we will very quickly make that transition and build the right environment around that. There's a couple of projects we're shooting right now, which we can't quite talk about, which have very established film and TV talent, but working in an agency/branded world. And I think creating those connecting points is our biggest achievement. And I think scaling that up is our biggest challenge moving forward, is to ensure that the communication always flows. And for instance, for features, the fact that we are successful commercially means that we might be able to invest a lot more dynamically into a film or be able to fully finance a film and so on, which we've done in the past. And vice versa, the fact that we make commercial and branded content can sometimes be something we can offer to a feature or film director and so on. And I think that's what we try to continue to build. So
I mean, that for young directors is incredibly attractive, isn't it? Because I know, a lot of directors, when they're looking to join a production company, they want more these days than just to be working on 30-second spots. So the idea that they could develop a TV project or a webisode or feature. I mean, I think that the way things are moving today, and with budgets being what they are, I wonder whether some of the bigger companies that have these sort of very restrictive contracts with directors are going to be able to sustain themselves, because sometimes it just becomes so cost prohibitive to do slightly, less well-funded, interesting projects with some of those directors just because of the contracts.
When we talk to a director, I always say to them, you need to feel as excited about signing with us than we feel excited about signing with you. If you feel someone is better, then I don't want to hold you back because that's only going to create...
You're on contract.
Exactly. And I think there is a big thing about being very truthful or honest about what you can do for a director, I think that becomes the biggest part. And I think what we've proven is if we say we're going to do X, Y, we actually do X, Y, Z, and we know the kind of people that give a over big sell and we're going to do this and and then 6 months down the line, you know, you're upset, the director is upset, just because I think it just creates the wrong dynamic. I'd much rather say, look, you know, this is the plan, this is how we'll approach it, and this is what we can actually do with you, and this is why we should be the right person for you or the right company. And again, I think honesty is going to prevail a lot more, I think, right now. And as we were saying with agencies, I think the relationship is changing as well. Like, I think people are a lot more, and honest doesn't, I'm not a hippie where I believe, like, you know, it's much more about transparency and about actually being efficient and as creative as one can be. And I think the idea of being able to be open about what it is that we're trying to do, whether that's with an agency or with a director, I think will bring more results.
Tell me a little bit about your partnership or relationship with Vice magazine. I just, having walked into the office, I walked through a lot of guys, and obviously you're sharing a building with them. Is there...
Yes, so we have a partnership where effectively, as we were coming into the US, I've known the guys of Vice for a very long time, and as we've come to the US, we thought that it would be a very valuable partner to be had because they kind of have such an incredible company right now, and they've gone from strength to strength, and I hope that what we do can also add value to their process opportunity. So really it's a question of, I hope that what we bring into the table is expanding their creative production and talent bandwidth across branded content, film and television, where there is again no obligation on either side, but there is an opportunity to learn how we work and actually try to go after those opportunities that will kind of benefit both parties. So it's a very organic but very committed partnership. So both parties spend a lot of time and resources to make sure we understand each other's process, or what are the talent options are available through the partnerships, or the opportunities and so on. And so far it's been amazing. And I think one of the key things, again, is sometimes it's very simple, but like sharing physical space where someone can just walk over and say, look, you know, I'm dealing with this, what do you think? And we can go, well, actually this director's just done this piece of work which could be super relevant to this opportunity, was I think a key aspect of making this work. And I think I'd really believe in, when we talk about collaboration, I think investing in as much face time as possible, learning how each other's work and so on, I think what is a big key of success, because we've had partnerships in the past where you go, yeah, well, we're partners, but we speak to each other once a week and
you speak a different language. And then
exactly.
That's not a
Whereas here, and I think the thing we've known each other for such a long time. They're very aware of who we are as a business. We're very aware about who they are as a business, and I think it felt very natural and organic, and it's been great so far. So.
We were talking also a little bit about women in advertising. From my perspective, we still talk about women and women-owned companies as diverse groups, you know, which just seems extraordinary in this day and age. And, you know, it got me thinking a little bit about women in the industry. And obviously there's always been a lot of producers. But then, you know, when I start thinking about directors, creative directors, people in sort of really sort of senior management positions, and just wondered what your thoughts on
well, as I was just saying, like at Pulse, like there is a lot of women in senior management position and so on. And to be honest, it's never been a question, or like for me, like I've never even considered, like it's just more the fact that for some reason we've been lucky to find these incredible people along the way, and they happen to be women. So, and actually I do think it's a great thing to kind of, you know, balance it. Like I don't believe in boys club, and so it's actually something I'm a little bit not against, but like I felt like feeling like an outsider myself. Like I wasn't from UK and so on. Like I think maybe there is something in there, but that's maybe more for the shrink than for this conversation. But I think it's interesting about directors. Like there is not a very big pool of women directors and we have one. We had two female directors on our roster, and and I get asked that question a lot, and it's just more, and it's not because because I would like the quotas to balance, but like I just think that the female perspective can be fascinating for a lot of things and so on. And I just feel, just for some reason, I don't know if it's from an education perspective or confidence perspective about actually embracing this type of careers, or whether I don't know what it is, but it's just, quite a shame. And I think the idea of diversity, it's quite funny because I never thought about women as a diversity aspect, but diversity in itself, I think, is quite interesting, especially in the UK. I'm very vocal about the fact that too many people that come into the industry come from a white middle class background because they can, and I think for me, I don't know if our industry is sometimes intimidating. I think if you don't have that kind of, male, white, middle class background, and it just feels like something that is not within reach, perhaps, or I don't know.
It's interesting.
Or mentors,
hopefully in the next 3 years we'll see more women in those positions. And I'm very glad to hear that you were a runner when you were 17, because I was a runner when I was 17. And I just feel like it was such a great way to start the industry. And it's sort of sad in many ways. I think a lot of people, they do go to university these days and they come out 22, 23, 24. They don't necessarily want to start at that runner level, and so
I think it's really bad that I think there is a big thing about how one comes into the industry. And I think even if you have been, I was a runner for 2 years, 3 years, and I did all kinds of work, and I really, really remember those as my formative years. I really learned a lot. And I think right now, one of the downsides of technology perhaps is everyone thinks they can be a director or producer, and the expectations kind of go too fast. Whereas I remember feeling so excited about even being given the opportunity to be a runner and earn £100 a day. That was oh my God, I get paid to be on set. I think right now there is, I don't know, a false sense of expectation. And I think university, film schools, I think are also not helpful in that way, because I think they build up a certain sense of entitlement, which I don't think exists. One of the things I love about our industry is craftsmanship, is the fact that people that do what they do so well, because they've been doing it for so long, or they're extremely talented. And I think too often, people try and bypass that, and they want to be a producer or a DP. When actually embracing the apprenticeship of your craft, I think is very, very important. And I think it's a problem that I see this all the time, even with people that come to our company that are more interested in impressing the boss and so on, showing me their showreel than actually helping making a production better. And I always say, I'm not the person that you need to impress. I would hear about the fact that you're going to be amazing because 4 people are going to tell me that. And I think people are just so obsessed with success or entitlement and so on. I think it just muddles the water a little bit, and I think that's a shame. And I think education is not on our side. I think film schools still perpetuate this fact of you come out of film school and you're gonna get signed and you're gonna make movies and which I just don't think exists. And we're finding less and less people coming out of film school actually. We don't tend to sign so many of those because I think they come out with reels that all look the same, or films that look amazing, because production value nowadays is the cheapest thing you can do. It's very easy to make something look amazing. We're looking for voices. I'm sure the same for you. It's a particular way of telling a story. And I think it's a very exciting time right now because there's so many more ways of telling stories and so many more mediums to explore. Embracing collaboration right now is one of the key things to do. I think be the best at what you are and find the best person to collaborate with. And that might be an agency, that might be a production company. The more collaborative, the more honest, the more open it is, the better results one will get. Because, at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We want to make great work, and we want to make that in a way that satisfies the client from a strategic, commercial, and process perspective. So I think the more we can be less fearful, I think the better process it will be. But, I think a lot of it comes down to the heritage of this as well. You hear from the good old days, there was such an abundance of money and opportunities that maybe it's harder to kind of readapt that thinking. And I think maybe there's a lot of doubt from both sides and so on. So I just feel like it's just about re-educating ourselves to understand the new landscape and the new processes and so on. But as you said, I feel very excited about the future. I don't feel concerned or worried. It's tougher, I think, because there is more choices, more possibilities, but that just means you maybe want to work harder. And I think
looking slightly broader is sometimes the way to go, isn't it?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Great. Well, thank you. Excellent.
Great.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Hope it made sense.